What's up, guys? It's Scoopman 5000 back for another action figure review, and we got a big one here. The Flash movie is upon us, and we got the figures coming out left and right. Pretty much every major retailer dropped these at the same time. These actually came from Macy's. They were somehow the first ones. I didn't know when my McFarlane order would ship. Shipped like the next day. For now, as you can see, all standard DC Multiverse packaging with the movie logo at the bottom. I will say on the Keaton packaging, be warned, and this is happening with the Ben Affleck too, the cape is kind of going crazy in the box. But full disclosure, I did get two Michael Keatons. This one was fine in the box. This one was more flat. And it won't make a difference once you open your figure, but if you are mint on card, maybe wait for this guy in person. On the back here, you got some nice artwork for the figures, but let's not waste any time here. Let's get to it. Let's open these figures up. And we're starting things off here with the Flash, Barry Allen, the main character of the movie. Now, it's worth noting there's two different Barrys in this wave, maybe even three if you count the Dark Flash, but this is the main universe version. For the accessories, all three of these figures come with the trading card. It's got some nice concept art on it. Of course, the black figure stand as well. And then for Barry, he does come with a bunch of lightning effect pieces. Not really a fan of these effects. I mean, they do work sometimes, but I'm never really sure where to actually place them. I feel like they're always just floppy. I'd prefer something that actually does peg in, like we did get on the Rebirth Flash. And then what we're left with here is Mr. Barry Allen, played by the infamous Ezra Miller, of course. That's kind of the one thing going against this movie. But otherwise, I think the movie looks great. I'm actually very excited for it. For the figure, this is nice though. It is kind of a classic Flash design. The helmet looks less awkward than it actually does in person. Because of the way the McFarlane figures are proportioned, it actually does this figure favors. Because in the movie, it's like he's got a big head with a big helmet, and the rest of them look skinny. But because McFarlane's usually have kind of elongated bodies and smaller heads, this works out for the figure himself. For the head sculpt, the likeness, it's not bad. It's what we're used to with McFarlane, kind of in between likenesses. They're not the best, but they, I think, capture the essence. We'll get into the Supergirl and the Michael Keaton. I will say the way these lightning bolts are sculpted kind of makes it look like bat wings on the top. And then as we go down, the whole suit has a kind of faint texture to it. McFarlane figures always seem to be having textures nowadays. He's almost got like chevrons on his chest here. Of course, the Flash emblem in the middle. And I will say the whole figure's got this great gold pipeline going throughout it. It's almost like you don't see it. If you back up, he just looks red. But it's actually a pretty elegant design. When we get to the boots, a lot more gold accents going on here, but it's still kind of part of the red undersuit as far as I could tell. And then really the only other thing worth note, I guess the one negative that I could find right off the bat, is that the elbows and the knees seem to be a slightly darker plastic. But it's very close. It's not as bad as we've seen on some other figures before. And I think under normal lighting, you won't even notice it. Now let's get into articulation. Very important for a Flash figure. Looks up pretty good as a result. Down, not so much. We got side to side on the head. Torso, classic McFarlane setup at this point. Goes back, not that much because of the way the sculpts line up back here. Forward is not great as usual as well. Butterflies, if you even want to call it that. 90 degree on the shoulder. Bicep swivel, a little bit tight, but it works. Double elbow does everything you need. And a nice sculpted ball joint hinge at the wrist. Splits out almost all the way. McFarlane set up at the groin. That's going to kick back. Pretty standard. Kind of makes a weird thing with his ass there. Kick forward, a little bit better. Pretty decent swivel, actually. Usually these are pretty locked up on McFarlane's, but works well here. Double knee, doesn't quite go all the way back, but might as well. Sculpted ball joint at the ankle, and then the classic toe hinge. And then for comparison, here we got the other Ezra Miller Flash from Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is kind of an example if you take the Flash suit and you overcomplicate it, but I do love this movie, so I think the perfect live-action costume would be kind of blending these two together. I think you'd have something good. A little bit of armor, a little bit of sleek. Then here he is with our Snyder Cut version of Ben Affleck Batman. He's a little bit too short. He should probably be the tallest member of the Justice League, but he's actually one of the shortest in the McFarlane line. But still, I think the beef and the bulk is there, so if you want to pair these two up, here you go. And then up next, let's look at Supergirl. Sasha Calle, the new character for the movie. For her accessories, you're effectively getting two open hands and two fist hands. And then she does also come with the flight stand. And I actually really have come to appreciate the McFarlane flight stand. And honestly, I think they're a bit more reliable than some other flight stands I've used that are more complex. And then here we go with the figure of Sasha Calle, Supergirl, the new character for the movie, like I said. Now the head sculpt, I didn't really know what to think about it from the pictures online. In person, I think these things always look better than they do online. Even I think at that angle looks pretty good, but it's not perfect. That's what we're used to with the live action selection from McFarlane. I think there's elements of the actress here, but it's almost like it should be a bit more dainty, or I don't know what the way I would put it. Overall, I think it's actually much better than I anticipated. So that's basically it on the head sculpt. You got a little bit of a wash in the hair. Even that seems unnecessary because it seems like she's got dark black hair, but it's like a brown color with a lighter wash, which does add more detail, more definition, but I don't know if it's exactly accurate. When we get to the suit, it does kind of suffer from the McFarlane diaper, especially on these female figures. Not as bad as Catwoman, but it still does ride a little bit high. And the suit in the movie does just look seamless, and it looks like a one-piece suit, so seeing it broken up like this does kind of throw it off. But I do love the design of the suit. It's very simple and elegant. It's got the kind of texture from a Man of Steel suit. Cape, not my favorite. Kind of looks like a big triangle. It's not quite neutral, but it's not quite extreme like we've seen on something like the Eradicator. But I guess it'll look good in the flight stand. If you kick the legs up, drop the feet down, that looks pretty decent, like she's floating up. For articulation, head is not looking up that far. And you want to get a flight pose at a Supergirl, there's literally shots in the trailer where her head should be basically all the way up and she's flying like this. So that's a disappointment. I almost wish they did like a Marvel Legends style hinge here or something. Down, pretty much not at all. And then side to side, swivel motion. Shoulder has the butterfly, even worse than Barry's. Bicep swivels really tightly sculpted, so you're gonna have to work to get that one moving. Double elbow, really dainty, and it does go all the way up. Same can go for the ball hinge sculpted at the wrist. Torso, let's see if that, definitely makes up for the flight pose, although she might look a little bit awkward. But I guess some combination of the two, that's about the best you're gonna get right there. Legs split open, but it is just gapping this diaper up like crazy. Kick back, the ass comes down pretty far on this Supergirl. Kind of doesn't look right. Forward, not that great either. Again, this diaper's just limiting a lot here. And this is what I was talking about with the swivel. Pretty much non-existent on here as compared to Barry. Double knee, goes all the way back. Kick back on the ankle, kick forward, and a toe hinge. For comparison, here is Supergirl with the only other Supergirl we got so far, the Injustice 2 Page Punchers. And side to side, it makes this one look real classic, but that's not even true. This is pretty far from classic on both sides. We have yet to get that perfect comic book Supergirl. But I do like these two a lot. I love Injustice, and again, I'm excited for this version in the movie. If you want to throw in with the comic book figures, I think there's actually a multiverse Supergirl that looks like this. That's not even called Kara. Definitely works in terms of size, and it's simple enough of a design that I think it could work in a comic display. And then finally, with the Henry Cavill Superman, I definitely have been waiting to see these two together. Unfortunately, the colors here just don't match. This, I think, is trying to go for Batman v Superman, and I don't think we're getting any more Henry Cavills. It's a shame we haven't got a Black Adam version or even a Justice League in terms of the coloring would go better with this. And finally, your main event of the evening, Mr. Keaton himself, the Batman, Michael Keaton, Bruce Wayne in the house. And for accessories, I'm not really a fan of these to be honest, but he's got this little grapnel gun, barely fits in the hand. He almost has to like pinch it to hold it. And the same goes for this Batarang. Both are cast in silver, but not really the best accessories. I don't think I'm going to be using them. Instead, I think I'll throw these fist hands on the figure and have him either putting his dukes up or just standing stoic. That's going to look good on the shelf. And speaking of which, just look at that. He's cutting the perfect silhouette right here. Maybe the cape's jacked up a little bit, but you get the idea. That's Keaton Batman. Very exciting to have him back in the DC fold and getting all this new merchandise. We're getting the Batmobile. I'm going to review that next with the unmasked version. The Mezco finally just came out. Hopefully I'm getting that soon. So Keaton's back, even if it's only for this short time, during the Flash movie hype. You got to love it. So looking at the figure, people are scooping this up, and, it is going to take the place for a lot of people. They're only just going to get him in the Batmobile, call it an 89 display. But I will say I don't think it really works as an 89 Batman. It might work as Batman Returns. The way the armor's laid out here is a bit closer. But also, what I noticed right away is that the belt is black. And I thought maybe they just missed paint, but that's actually how it's going to look in the movie. He's got a totally blacked out suit other than the classic logo. And of course, the classic Keaton would have a bright yellow belt. So I think McFarlane would be nuts not to come back to this, make some revisions, and give us a proper 89 version, or even a Batman Returns version. There is rumors of a 6-pack of cinematic Batmans and even a Batman and Batmobile gold label. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more of this guy. For now, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm stoked to have a Michael Keaton. And for the head sculpt, I think it looks pretty good. And I even think the unmasked one looks good. I just got that in the mail. I'm going to look at that alongside the Batmobile. I think people are freaking out. They're putting it way out of proportion. It looks good. It looks like old man Michael Keaton. I think maybe we're trying to see 89 Batman in this, but he don't look the same. He's 70 years old. This right here, it looks like that shot in the trailer where he comes up, he says, "I'm Batman." That's what it looks like to me. This is Michael Keaton Batman. It really can't be anyone else. I think what bothers me a bit more is these ears over here. It's kind of rounded tips, I guess, so you don't stab yourself. To me, it almost cheapens it, makes it feel like more of a toy. And especially, you know, you're picking up Michael Keaton Batman. You've been around. You're at least 20, 30 years old. You know what the deal is. I don't think this is necessarily going to kids. So to make that kind of soft ear on the top kind of throws it off a little bit. But I think the rest of the figure does make up for it. The cape, I don't know how to feel about, because obviously it should be like a leathery material if we're being realistic. But this is not the worst cape I've ever seen. It almost reminds me of the Mattel capes we're getting with Masters of the Universe. But compared to those, this is much thicker and nicer, and it moves a little bit more naturally. So I'm kind of in the middle. It's not the best cape, but it's not the worst. And because it is a cloth goods, which we don't always get with McFarlane, he's going to fit on the Bat Bike and the Batmobile pretty well. The bat symbol looks a bit more orange than I remember, but maybe that is for the new movie rather than directly based on the classic Keaton version. Or maybe that's just how it looked, but in my mind it's a bit more yellow rather than leaning towards orange. Some nice sculpting here for the gauntlets, and he can talk into his hand and say, "Drive," and then the car pulls up to him. But yeah, like I said before, the armor here is a lot more like Batman Returns. It looks like armor plating rather than the original 89 suit, which was much more muscular, Greek god looking. The capsule belt here, the buckle looks weird to me. I don't remember what the Keaton one exactly looked like, but I don't think it was that. And again, the belt is all black, which is kind of the biggest difference of design here. And as we get to the legs and the boots, more tactical designs, some great treads on the boots, looking like he's about to stomp a mud hole. Just noticing a bit of almost a brown or a green paint on the boots. That looks really nice. Kind of like he's scuffed up. A bit of extra detail, some TLC going into this Michael Keaton Batman. You know, overall, very impressive. And when we get into articulation, I'll mention this now, he feels buttery smooth. Like, he feels great in hand, moving the joints around. Even much better than Barry and Supergirl we just looked at. They put some extra TLC, a little lubricant in this guy or something. He feels great. For the head sculpt, looking up pretty decent. I mean, that's better than he can actually do in the cowl. Same thing for down and side to side. As we know, Michael Keaton Batman famously can't move his neck at all. So anything's going to be better than that. Even the butterfly looks great, and then buttery smooth, like I said. Feels great in hand. Shoulder, I'm a little afraid to move it even. Popping it right out. So, going to be a little bit of a fight to move that shoulder around. I'm just going to leave it for now. But in theory, it should go about 90 degrees. Bicep swivel works pretty well. Double elbow does what you need it to do. And then same for the sculpted ball hinge at the wrist. Torso, going back, not the best. Forward is actually pretty good for a McFarlane. Side to side swivel motion. Kick back, almost not at all. He's got buns of steel. Kicks forward, much better. Splits out pretty much all the way. Get a nice kick like that. I think he did that in the movie once. Double knee, goes all the way back. Beautifully sculpted hinge here at the boot. I almost couldn't tell where the articulation was. That looks great. I guess I forgot to talk about the ankle rocker in the couple figures before, but it is pretty tight on this Michael Keaton. And for comparison, here's Keaton Batman with the Three Jokers version and with the Rebirth Superman. And then here we are with the GOATs, the Holy Trinity right here. We got Christian Bale, we got Ben Affleck, and now Michael Keaton into the mix. Our cinematic Batmans, if you will. Forgot to pull out my Robert Pattinson, but oh well, he's just going to have to sit back for this one. But breathtaking visual right here. Great stuff. And then why not? I still got him on the desk. Here's Henry Cavill, Superman, and the original Ezra Miller. Doesn't really make any sense, but I do like how these are playing together. And that is going to do it for The Flash, Supergirl, and Bat Keaton from the new movie. And overall, some pretty exciting stuff here. Simple designs, but executed pretty well for McFarlane. And I couldn't be more excited for this movie, to be honest. I think a lot of the pieces here are going to make a great celebration of DC movies. We'll leave it at that. Of course, I'm going to look at the Batmobile and the Unmasked Batman. That's coming up next. And then another video, we're going to look at Dark Flash, Ben Affleck Batman, and the Batsuit Barry. And I also got Mezco, 89 Batman coming in. So that'll be all related. We'll have kind of a themed next couple of weeks here on the channel. As always, I'm going to leave it off with some figure photography, and you can see more of that on my Instagram at scoopman_5000. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment which of these figures was your favorite, even though we all know it was Michael Keaton. And we'll see you in the next action figure review.